Áit be ina neirtar daoine bhí cúing an bhachtanis, sárítar a gceart a déine. Tá sé do dhúilgus salúnta oringe, a cheacht in áil a chéile de cinú go dúchtar na cearta sin dóibh. What does poverty mean to me? Well, I'm from Ballybach, which is close to here, and in Irish it means town of the poor, but I'm no expert in what poverty is. But because we're standing here in the North Wall, I'm thinking of two streets close by. One is called Mare Street, and if you happen to be born into an apartment there, you'll have a different story and a different life and different expectations than if you were born about 200 metres back parallel, which is called Sheriff Street. Somewhere between those two streets is the definition of what poverty is. And I think it's something around hopes, opportunities, dreams, story. Maybe throw in words like shame. The experts in poverty are not the people doing statistics in Trinity College or the politicians or the media commentators, but people who struggle. And I know certainly if I take the North Wall as an example, they do not define themselves by poverty. They define themselves by spirit, by humanity, by coming together. And I'll give three examples. One is I'm looking at a bridge called after Sean O'Casey, and he wrote play after play after play about the tenements in Dublin. And the heroes of the tenements, as far as he was concerned, was the anonymous generations of mothers and grandmothers who carried spears and kept the family together. Another example would be Luke Kelly. Luke sang stories of protest, stories of get up, look for your rights, stories of we're as good as anybody else. He inhabited songs. And the third example I will give would be the Sheridan brothers, Peter and Jim, and their films and plays. If you take My Left Foot, the protagonist of the story is a youngster that has disability, but because of the support system he has around him, he is the hero. He tells us something. He tells us what life is about. So somewhere in the gap between Mare Street and Sheriff Street is the definition of poverty. And I think the best people to ask would be the people who speak here on October the 17th, year in, year out. I remember, I think it was 2016 when we commemorated our independence, the president came and sat and respectfully listened to these stories. And having heard the stories, he addressed each of the individual storytellers to encourage, affirm, thank them for their story. People who maybe have had no voice, or people who feel their story is neglected or doesn't matter. Whereas when the president addresses your story, you feel not alone does my story matter, but I matter. This year's theme, it'd be so obvious in a year where we're struggling with COVID, is that care of the globe, care of creation goes hand in glove with care of the weakest amongst us in society. So we need to alleviate poverty and care for our globe. The opposite of shame happens here. It's self-confidence, it's I'm valuable. And for an individual, that spreads to their family, it spreads to their neighbours, it spreads to the community, and they themselves feel that they're part of the story of this country, of this city. And I think an awful lot of the validation doesn't come necessarily from the political figures. It comes from people too who have struggled and know exactly what you're saying when you say something like, I'm here, I'm living in direct provision, I'm here, I'm an unaccompanied minor in school, I'm here, I'm struggling with stuff in my life, I'm here, I'm unable to read. No matter what your story is, I think you get fantastic validation from other people sitting around listening. We are all going to miss the togetherness. We're all going to miss the metal. We're all going to miss the cup of tea afterwards in Liberty Hall. We're all going to miss the chats with people that we haven't seen maybe for a few weeks or a few months. But it's an opportunity to be creative. And a person's story, whether it's told virtually through media or whether it's told in person, is still a person's story. And that story has the power to change them as the storyteller. But more importantly, it has the power, and this year, because maybe it'll be the broadcast to a far wider audience, has to change not alone societies in Dublin, but maybe wherever this video is picked up. Yeah, so it's a challenge to be creative and to remember the power of the story. This community, like any community, is full of talented people. Luke probably is exhibitive of somebody who has made it nationally and internationally, the same as Peter Sheridan and Jim, or the same as Sean O'Casey. But they are not the only heroes. The real heroes maybe they're anonymous. They may be grannies and granddads, they may be mammies, they may be people in struggling families that keep on going. So I'd say the likes of Luke Kelly that comes from this community has encouraged everybody in the community to say, we have something valuable. In communities that struggle, what is worth listening to is the wisdom, the humanity, the resilience, the togetherness of the community. It's also great that unsung heroes, day in, day out, keep plodding away for a better life for themselves and for their kids. What was at the base of Luke Kelly's message, particularly if we're talking about his songs of protest, would be stand up, know your rights, stay together, try and fight for your rights. And I think the inscription on the stone, no matter what language you read it in, it says if people's rights are being neglected, it's the responsibility on all of us to stand up together and move towards a world. I'm looking at the shirt that is of justice, dignity, and joy, humanity, that we take steps. So yeah, I think not alone in the North Wall, but I think in any community, especially communities where people struggle, the sentiments in Luke's songs are as applicable today, and maybe more applicable with the gap widening between rich and poor than in Luke's day.